So, a fellow campaigner in the quest for justice for Abu Dhabi 2021 has forwarded me the video from the Miami Grand Prix that we saw at the weekend. So let's have a listen to what Brundle and Crofty said during that race.
McLaren there, because they've built a more of a bridge, more of a buffer between Verstappen and Norris when he pitted.
Yes, but the safety car hasn't got the leader, has it?
Well, it hasn't, no.
Okay, we can look at tracker view. Safety cars on track. Verstappen's the first car behind him. They're here. Somehow Lando Norris managed to pit and get back out ahead of the safety car, and he's, as the race leader, would have disappeared off around the track and linked up with the back of the pack, effectively gaining almost a lap on everybody. Now, that's not allowed to happen. The regulations are that once on track, the safety car has to stay on track until the leader is behind it and all other cars are lined up behind the leader. That's what's written into the regulations. It was in 2021. What does that achieve? Well, it achieves the correct race order. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, in the correct order. All previously built up advantages have been wiped out. Something I've been saying for 18 months on YouTube and for 12 months prior to that on Facebook. Something that the press, the media, never has exposed, because by exposing it, by actually stating this to you, it actually just highlights the true nature of the Abu Dhabi fraud. So they won't say it. They won't tell you the rule or the purpose of the rules. They will not spell it out to you because it's quite clear. And just because cars have been lapped does not mean that they are eliminated. So the procedure for when cars are lapped, to release the lapped cars and give them the time for which to make it around the track to catch the back of the pack, okay, doesn't mean that they have to, but that's the intention. They didn't do that, and that ruined people's races. Now, what happens here? We know that these cars get released. We know that they all catch Norris. They're all one behind the other in the correct race order. Behind Norris, then the safety car gets withdrawn. That is what happens. Brundle and Crofty are about to tell you that. Now, what would have happened if Max Verstappen would have done the same as Norris and been able to do that, and the two of them would have been ahead of the safety car, and them two would have made it around the track to the back of the pack? Oh, who's interfering with the race between the leaders? What would the FIA have had to do then? Would they have had to release the other cars to catch them, or would they have just been happy that two cars would have gained a lap on the entire field and would have let them stay like that? And the answer is no, because you cannot create a two-car race-off for the win in a multi-competitor event. Every other team in that race would have lodged a protest to the FIA had the FIA had done that, which none of them did in Abu Dhabi 2021, which demonstrates the fact that all of the teams were complicit in Abu Dhabi 2021, despite the fact that they were negatively impacted by that corruption. Or were they? Because financially they've all benefited. Hence, they shut up and they took the money. Anyway, enough of me. Let's listen to the liars, Brundle and Crofty, those corrupt mouthpieces who sold you the fraud by lying to you about the rules of the sport before the fraud even took place back in Abu Dhabi 2021. Let's have a listen to these lads.
That's the problem we've got here now. But Norris is making his merry way round. Well, he's going to end up virtually a full lap ahead if he catches the back of the pack. They'll have to release this lot to go and catch Norris.
Absolutely right, Martin. They'll have to release this lot to go and catch Norris. Otherwise, he'll have gained a lap on the competitors that he was previously challenging, or they were previously challenging him. What happened in Abu Dhabi? Did Pierre Gasly gain a lap on Norris?
and then re-scoop up Norris.
But what McLaren did was just to build that little extra buffer, just in case something went wrong at the pit stop. They gave themselves just that little bit more time. That's thinking very coolly. It really is.
Yeah, so they're gonna have to let the pack go. Otherwise, on the restart, Norris will be a lap ahead.
They're going to have to let the pack go. Otherwise, on the restart, Norris will be a lap ahead. And yet in Abu Dhabi, Martin Brundle was telling us, I don't think they have to let the lapped cars go. I don't think it's mandatory in the rules. But that's usually on. Well, he didn't say this. He said this the day after in his explanation, in his validatory 9-minute long video where he lied every step of the way, where it's like, oh, it's not actually mandatory, I don't think, in the regulation. Don't be thinking, Martin, because you get it wrong when you think. Okay, but that's usually on a wet day in Belgium. All lies. Embellished lies, you know, taking you off down that story of the weather conditions and certain circuits where they might apply the rules differently. No, all lies. You have to release the lapped cars because prior to Nicholas Latifi crashing in Abu Dhabi 2021, Lando Norris was less than 12 seconds behind Gasly. Lando Norris was closer to Gasly than Verstappen was to Hamilton. He didn't release Norris, or they released him as a token gesture, just to clear them out of the way for Supermax, to give Max that chance, only to give one person in that race a chance of winning it. That's what they did. Okay, they broke the rules just for Supermax, but they forgot about Lando Norris and the 4 other cars behind him, and the 3 other cars that they left there, because Norris was now left a lap behind Gasly, unable to challenge. And yet here, Brundle has just said,
so they're going to have to let the pack go. Otherwise, on the restart, Norris will be a lap ahead, more or less a lap ahead, albeit on the back of the snake.
And there is Will Joseph.
And we have the FIA International Sporting Code, sporting fairness to all competitors. So Brundle knows here that we can't let a safety car situation mean that Lando Norris can gain a lap on everybody. Oh, safety car, safety car. What's going to happen now? Anything can happen. No, it can't. There's a set of procedures. There's a set of regulations. They must be enforced on the grounds of sporting fairness to every competitor. But Abu Dhabi 2021, wow! Oh, this has changed everything. What's going to happen? Are they going to release the lapped cars? We don't know. We think they could start like this. How long will they wait? We think the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap, and there will be one racing lap, and it's ending, Wow! All bullshit. All bullshit. Right? But that's what they told you when they hyped it up, to lie to you ahead of it all happening in Abu Dhabi. That's what they did to you. Now I'm going to play you Abu Dhabi, and I'm going to point out a few things that some of you may not have actually picked up on already. Now this won't take long because I've speeded up the footage like 4 times as fast as it should be. But watch this. This is shortly before Nicholas Latifi crashes. Nicholas Latifi and Mick Schumacher are battling here, approaching turn 12. Soon Latifi will get to 14 and crash. Hamilton at turn 7, the greeny dot there with Hamby at turn 7. I'm trying to wave my cursor. Gasly here. Gasly at that moment in time is in P7. Position 7 is at turn 8. Here's Norris. Okay, this is the distance between Norris and Gasly. Focus on that distance between these 2 competitors. Norris in 8th, which becomes 7th when Perez mysteriously retires, and Gasly, okay, in 7th, which becomes 6th when Perez mysteriously retires. Let's see what happens here. Okay, Here's some other key elements to look at. We've got Alonso, Ocon and Verstappen's there. So at this point in time, there are just 3 cars between Hamilton and Verstappen. But Red Bull play some clever cards by pitting Verstappen and allowing 2 cars to go through, which means Leclerc and Vettel go through. McLaren play some clever cards by pitting Daniel Ricciardo from 11th position to also put him on fresh soft compound tyres, but the FIA, in breaking the rules and not applying sporting fairness to all competitors, don't allow him to race on those fresh soft compound tyres. So when he re-emerges from the pits in 12th position, he's not released. He's not allowed to challenge for 11th and 10th, but he loses position from 11th because Vettel goes through. Okay, now with Vettel having gone through, well, he's lost position to Leclerc and he's lost position to Vettel. Had he not pitted, with Perez mysteriously retiring, Daniel Ricciardo finishes 10th, 1 World Championship point. But I thought it was playing clever cards by pitting for fresh soft tyres and losing track position. You lose 2 cars go through. Okay, these are point scoring positions. They were people effectively unlapping themselves from Max Verstappen in Leclerc and Vettel going through. But you go into the pit, some cars go through on track. Even this bullshit notion of, we can restart with lapped cars in situ, which you can't, which is the lies that Brundle and Crofty give you. Well, even if that were even true, which it's not, which it's categorically not true. You can't do that. You've not been allowed to do it since 2012. But if it was true, let's follow the bullshit through. You can restart, let's pretend, with Brundle and Crofty. Let's pretend, right? You can restart with lapped cars in situ. Well, there's 3 lapped cars between us. And we know when there's cars one behind the other, there's half a second between each cars. And if we do get resumed, then them lapped cars will get blue flagged. But if there's a further 2 lapped cars in, so now at the moment there's 3 lapped cars, Norris, Alonso, Ocon, in between Hamilton and Verstappen. So we know that the gap between Hamilton and Verstappen is going to be about 3 to 4 seconds like that. You pit Verstappen, and then Leclerc and Vettel go through as well. Now there's 5 lapped cars between Hamilton and Verstappen, and let's pretend it's possible to go racing like this. Well, he's now 5 seconds, 6 seconds behind Hamilton because of these 2 cars that are in the way that cause an extra half second to a second gap per car. Oh, that's some clever cards by Red Bull. That's what they want to keep telling us. Oh, it was clever strategy by Red Bull. Well, if that fake version of the rules that they keep lying to us about, is that clever? Well, no, it's not, is it? But let's dismiss all of that because that's not even possible anyway. It's all a lie, okay? But it's bullshit. It's all bullshit. Focus on this. Focus on where Gasly goes relative to Norris, where 8th and 7th are, okay? Which become 6th and 7th when Perez retires. Take a look at Ricciardo as well. You might enjoy the music. Here we go. Pierre Gasly just emerged from the pits. AlphaTauri playing some clever cards. Aston Martin have played some clever cards because Lance Stroll has also pitted for fresh tops. Didn't get to use them due to the FIA neglecting Aston Martin. No protest from Aston Martin. Mick Schumacher with the Haas team, who played some clever cards, is also on fresh soft compound tyres. But they weren't able to use them either because the FIA broke the rules of the sport. Well, it was a safety car finish. None of them would be able to. But they broke the rules of the sport to allow Max Verstappen to use them. Oh, that's some clever cards from Red Bull, isn't it? They're clever cards. Sergio, we need to retire the car. We need to retire the car. Box. Really? Yes, we need to retire the car. Box. This is the distraction going on that's being played to you, because when they get to turn 5... and lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake. This is the standard message. That's not in the regulations, but the FIA tell us this is the standard message in their report. Why is that? Oh, is that because there's still marshals on the track at turn 14? Yes, absolutely right. So, they'll all get racing like this, but Lewis will be long gone. They'll all get blue flags, of course, with these 5 cars. There were 3. Now there's 5 cars in between Lewis and Max. So when, in this bullshit scenario where they restart racing with lapped cars in situ, which they've not been allowed to do since 2012, but the one that they pretend was possible, right? And all of them pretend that. Oh, Karun Chandok even did a presentation saying, he thinks it would have been an incredible last lap if they'd have restarted the race like that, because by the end of it, Max would have been right on the back of Lewis, even though he'd have started that lap about 5 seconds behind him, with all of them gaps in between all of them cars, when Lewis would have started off again. But it's not allowed, so let's not even go down that route of bullshit. Anyway, Pierre Gasly's almost catching the back of the pack. Let's have a look. Pierre Gasly, here he is. There he is. He's fully caught up. Now, here's a key. If you remember, the race before Abu Dhabi 2021 was the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix of 2021. You may remember it for the brake test. You may remember it for Max trying to run Lewis off track at turn 1 with that crazy shit, whatever it was, kamikaze, take the other car out of the race to win the championship move, Schumacher-esque. Yeah, that one. I do remember in Abu Dhabi, Martin Brundle saying, Max is going to need to do 20 Schumacher-esque bonsai qualifying laps to catch Lewis. 20 laps, lap after lap, setting qualifying times on a set of tyres. Well, surely the tyres don't last to do 20 laps at qualifying speed. Doesn't work like that. They've only got 1 or 2 laps in them that are capable of doing qualifying laps. But Schumacher-esque, isn't it, Brundle? Thanks for your valuable insight, Brundle. Anyway, previous lap in Saudi, the one where they had a red flag due to some tyre barrier damage that was no worse than what you saw at the weekend in Miami there, that didn't require a red flag, but they did a red flag there to allow Max to have the change onto fresh softs without losing any positions and start the restart in pole position ahead, because the Mercedes had already pitted during that safety car position. Max stayed out, would have had to lose a lot of places when pitting later on in the race, but he started on pole. Lewis beat him off the line. Max then went off the track at turn 1, re-entered the circuit in an unsafe manner, didn't get penalised for that. Lewis had to dodge out of the way of a collision. Esteban Ocon went through, and then all shit happened behind them. Another red flag, and Red Bull got to negotiate on the grid order, despite the fact that Max had left the track at turn 1. He'd re-entered the track in an unsafe manner, and yet, despite where he should have received either a 5-second penalty or a grid penalty, he was allowed to negotiate. Oh, yeah. We'll accept Max being demoted to third as long as Lewis isn't on pole. Well, what's going on there? Let's negotiate with the rule makers, shall we? Anyway, no, the thing is, what I'm trying to say is about Saudi, because there were a couple of things that were issues in Saudi, was you had Red Bull on the radio inciting the crazies, allowed to broadcast to the global audience via the likes of Sky Sports F1, using the F1 TV feed. Red Bull were outraged by the fact that they felt that Valtteri Bottas wasn't maintaining 10 car lengths behind Lewis Hamilton at that first safety car, which turned into a red flag. Okay, so they were going, oh, it's ridiculous. It's a effing joke, isn't it? Yeah? Yeah. Let's have a look at Pierre Gasly. Let's see if Pierre Gasly keeps within 10 car lengths. Fully caught the back of the pack. Oh, that's the end of lap 56, isn't it? We're now about to enter lap 57, which means this is going to be a safety car finish because we're now on the penultimate lap and the lapped runners have not been released, which means even if they are released this lap, lap 58 will be a safety car lap. It will end behind the safety car. None of the global commentators could say that to you. That's the rules of the sport. They're the facts. But none of the global commentators of the sport of Formula One could say that. They couldn't say what was going to happen in accordance with the rules of the sport. What's going on there then? Pierre Gasly, is that within 10 car lengths? Red Bull, tell us what you think. It's an effing joke. Pierre Gasly, is that within 10 car lengths? Oh, what's he doing now? Pierre Gasly, is that within 10 car lengths? And it's ending, wow! Where's Norris? There he is, look, approaching turn 12. Pierre Gasly is approaching turn 9. What did you tell us at Miami, Martin? Oh, he's gained a lap on him. You can't have that, can you? You can't have that. Hence, we have the safety car regulations in 2021. They were Article 48. Read them. You can understand the meaning when you apply sporting context to them. They're like a legal document and they're like this thick and you have to understand every word. Yeah, in the context of sporting contest. So this notion of, oh, legally, the word any doesn't legally mean all when the lawyers are involved. No, it really does. It really does, because law is grounded in context, and the context being a sporting event, and this is the outcome that was produced by an illegal interpretation, which is fraudulent. Everybody knows this. Everybody involved in the sport knows this. None of them complained. None of them protested. They shut the fuck up and took the money because they're fraudulent. That is what happened. Hamilton with the advantage. Verstappen on the fresher tyres. And it's down to the last lap of the last Grand Prix of the season. You couldn't make it up, could you? Now, what you saw there, if you saw the restart, if we just drag this back for a tiny little bit, if you saw the restart for the illegal lap 58 for the rest of the field, not these 5 here that are just about to start their lap 58, then dots were kind of overlapping one another because them cars were bunched up one behind the other. These 5 that were released, just the 5 of the 8, well, that lap that they were given to catch the back of the pack, which they weren't given, well, they were released, but they're not allowed to actually race that lap because that lap is that cursory lap with which to catch the back of the pack, which wasn't done. But that's what that purpose is. So they weren't allowed to overtake on that lap. That's not in the regulations. But by the time that they start racing one another and they are allowed to overtake, then there's already gaps between the racers. So they're not getting the same crack of the whip. They're not getting the same chance of effectively having this bunched up start again and all being able to attack each other. Gaps between each of the competitors has emerged, and there's 1.5 seconds between each car now as they're crossing the line, rather than just half a second for the other cars. This notion of skewed outcomes, different outcomes for different competitors due to the way that the rules have been broken due to a safety incident and trying to contrive an outcome. Oh, I wonder if that's in the FIA report that they did, their official report into Abu Dhabi. We'll have a look into that soon. Anyway, let's have a look to see who finishes the race last. Oh, Vettel, but he finishes 11th and Mick Schumacher's 14th. Can't work it out. I'm just like everybody else in this world that's just baffled by it. 108.7 million viewers. Don't you worry. None of them will work it out. They're all too fucking thick to realise what we've done. See you next time.